Due to the huge popularity of Peaky Blinders on my channel, I thought I'd make another video on one of my favourite shows. However, this is going to be more of an opinionated and divisive video than the others that I've made on this show. In this video, I'm going to be stating my opinions on how to rank every season of Peaky Blinders. As I stated, this isn't a definitive list based on stats or anything specific, it is just my opinion. I'm not saying any season is bad, even the one in the bottom spot. In fact, even the worst season of Peaky Blinders would be classed as the very best season for a lot of other shows in terms of quality. That's how good this show is. But before we get started, make sure to let me know your rankings in the comments below, and don't hate mine, please. And yeah, let's go. Yep, the conclusion to the series is bottom of my list. I've already made a video on this before, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. And like I said, I'm not saying this is an objectively bad season. In fact, it contains some of my favourite scenes from the entire show. The final confrontation with Michael, iconic. The fight with the IRA and the Peakies in the streets of Birmingham, iconic. The Ada meeting and the Tommy final meeting, all incredible pieces of cinema. I just think this final season achieved the least out of them all. Tommy's arc wasn't as conclusive as many of us wanted and expected it to be. And obviously, due to the tragic death of Helen McCrory, the story wasn't as good as it potentially could have been. Not to the fault of the writers, but, unfortunately that does affect the quality. I just think this season was doomed to begin with the expectations were so high that it made it very difficult for the show to be completely satisfying, along with, as I said, the unfortunate circumstances with Helen McCrory and everything, making Polly, a very vital character to the show, unavailable. I promise I'm not just going in reverse order, but my second worst season is the one that's second to last, Season 5. Season 5 started out really strongly for me. In fact, I'd argue only Seasons 1 and 4 had better openings, but that's just my opinion. My main issue with Season 5 is that Mosey is just such a dull antagonist. We never really get to see the true scale of his power. Yeah, we see a lot of people at his rallies, but we never find out why so many people work for him so loyally and why he commands so much fear and respect from those around him, specifically, other politicians and Tommy. I also think he's far too mustache twirling and sort of comical villainy to really work for a show like this. He seems too goofy in a way, I guess, to be an interesting villain. Like, some of the stuff he says is just stuff that no ordinary human, no matter how arrogant you are, would ever say. I do think this conflict that starts between Tommy and Michael was good and had a lot of potential. However, it never really panned out in Season 6 as well as I thought it would. Season 2, I feel, constantly gets a bad rep as it's sort of sandwiched between what are widely considered to be the 3 best seasons of the show. Season 2 definitely isn't a bad season. I just think it's probably the most dull season out of all of them, which, is sort of worst, really. But I think it does have better moments in it than Season 6 and 5. It does sort of suffer from a lack of achievement similar to Season 6, only not to as bad of an extent. Season 2's whole premise is about the Peakies moving their operation into London, and that's just sort of it. I mean, there's other minor stuff happening through the show, like the return of Major Campbell. However, he isn't anywhere near as relevant in this season as he's in the first season, and doesn't really do much apart from arrest Michael and do things with Polly. Season 2, however, does have a great ending, with the infamous "nearly got everything" monologue. Also, on the plus side, Grace returns. Can't wait to see her and Tommy live happy ever after. Oh wait, shit. Yep, just 2 episodes after Tommy marries the love of his life, she is taken from him. The thing that always sticks out to me about Season 3 is just how much is going on. Like Tommy being recruited by the Oddfellows or the Economic League to do their dirty work in exchange for future business opportunities. The Russians are working with the Oddfellows, except they're not really, and they're secretly working with Tommy against the Oddfellows, except also not really because they plan to kill him. And whilst this is going on, Tommy's war is started with the Italians, which climaxes when Grace is killed after an assassin misses Tommy. And then Tommy retaliates by killing Vigente Giangretta. The finale of Season 3 is definitely my favourite ending of any season of this show. In fact, it's probably one of my favourite endings of any season of any show. As we see the whole Shelby family, except Tommy, carted away by the police to be hanged for their crimes against the Oddfellows, who are very powerful in the Parliament. The reasons this season isn't in the top 2 for me is that it's sort of the opposite of the previous seasons, where I feel like there's almost too much going on. it's very hard to comprehend. I feel like the writers heard a lot of people throughout season 2 saying that it was boring, so decided to lean too far in the other direction. It can be very confusing as to what is going on, and it took me a few rewatches to fully grasp the plot. You know, the good fellows want to work with the Russians, but want to seem like they're working with the Russians, but actually they want to sell them out to the Parliament in order to stop the spread of communism in the UK. And then they want to blame an explosion on the communists, but the Peakies portray the Oddfellows and then rob the Russians, and then all get it's sort of like, it's a bit difficult to follow, really. It's kind of hard to explain. You just have to watch it a few times to really get it. Picking between this and season 4 was extremely hard, and either season could have gone top of my list because I just love them both so much. The only reason I think this season misses out on the top spot is just because it is more about establishing the characters, which means it can't really fit in as much action and excitement as season 4 does, which is just balls to the wall action. However, season 1 will always have a soft spot in my heart, partly for the amazing opening, where it perfectly shows the viewer the situation Birmingham is in 1919 with just a few shots. It does a great job of highlighting the family, which is the core of the story, and Tommy, and how he's so ambitious, and it shows you his trauma early on, and then we see the development of his trauma throughout season 1 to season 6. He goes from having trouble sleeping to being suicidal, by the final season. You're so dragged in by this season. Like, the cinematography is incredible, the dialogue is amazing, the season 1 finale is really good, not as great as season 3, but it's still amazing in my opinion. I think I've got to put this so high just because for the simple fact that this is what started off the journey that has entertained me so much and has done so much for my channel. Yes, shock horror, season 4 has been voted as the best season by another Peaky Blinders fanatic. I understand this is very predictable and cliche, but this season really is just flawless. It has the best opening of any season, as we see the Shelby family narrowly escape death as a result of their actions in season 3, because Tommy, at the last possible moment, managed to get some evidence that implemented the king with the Russians. And then we jump forward to see how the family has changed as a result of the ending of the 3rd season. Seeing that they're so distant from each other, they barely even want to see each other. The only person who ever seems to want to interact with all of them is Ada, because she wasn't really involved in the previous seasons. And then we are shown the main villain of the season in easily the best villain introduction throughout the show. It's so subtle, the way he just lifts up his hat and looks at the guys he's checking in at Liverpool, but it's so effective, and it really gives you it perfectly encapsulates what the character is in those first few moments. He's just your cold-blooded, ruthless mafioso. The villain in this season is Luca Changretta, and who is the son of Vincente Changretta, the guy who was responsible for Tommy's wife's death in season 3. He sailed over to England from New York, where he's a prominent member of the mafia, and he sailed over to England with the sole intention on taking revenge on Tommy Shelby for the murder of his father and brother Angel. And he doesn't want to just kill Tommy, he wants to make sure Tommy's the last one alive, and he wants to kill every other member of his family first, just to make him suffer the most. And he's almost toying with Tommy, torturing him, torturing his soul. What I love most about this season is just the simplicity of the plot. Season 2 was a very simple plot, but there was not a lot going on. This is just one through line, but it's just so progressive, and it's so intense for the whole time. It's just a good old-fashioned revenge story with a lot of violence and action, which, as a big child, is something that I really enjoy. I also like how, in a twist of irony, the vendetta brings the family back together, this family that was so distant and splintered after the happenings of the previous season. But this war brings them together, this conflict, like a war that Tommy found himself in, that's given him so much trauma, has brought them all together and made their family whole again. And the whole theme of season 4 is family. Luca wants revenge for the death of members of his family. Tommy wants to protect all the people he loves in his family. And I think that's really beautiful, as it's something that everyone in the world could relate to. It shows how family can make you stronger and give you the best chance of survival in this case. And then of course there is a masterpiece of an ending which highlights to us, the viewer, as to why Tommy does what he does, why he never stops, because if he does stop, he starts to fall apart. There is a brilliant montage that only takes a few minutes but perfectly shows us the true depth of Tommy's trauma and PTSD as a result of the First World War. I think season 4 has the best iteration of Tommy, as we learn that he seems like he wants all of this for himself, but in reality he doesn't really care about any of it because he can't enjoy it, because anytime he stops working he's just so deeply disturbed and emotionally unstable. It's just so intriguing, and it just makes you it really helps you to understand the character. And for the reason of the depth of Tommy and for the theme of the show, this is why this tops my list of all the seasons. So there is my ranking of every Peaky Blinders season from worst to best. As I said in the beginning, this is just my opinion. Please tell me your rankings down below in the comments, as well as anything else you'd like me to make, Peaky Blinders related or otherwise. I'm sort of running out of Peaky Blinders stuff. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to stay up to date with the content on the channel, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Young Swift.